Hey, you're listening to Jeremiah Harding or Insanity is Free, and I just wanted to come off with this because the whole NSA Snowden thing that's up for debate right now, it really shouldn't be up for debate. And the reason it shouldn't be up for debate is because when I cite, for instance, the Fourth Amendment talking about this to people, they say, well, I mean, they can't actually listen to the kinds of things. They can't actually read the contents or whatever without a warrant. And here's the thing. That all stems from the Fourth Amendment to the United States Constitution, which doesn't just protect us from searches. It doesn't just protect us from having our property physically searched. It also protects us from seizures. They can't take our property without probable cause, without a warrant, without etc., etc., etc. And when it comes to communications, they can't take it without a warrant at all. Because here's the thing. It's like this. If you're accosted by a police officer, you maintain the right to say, I refuse a search. Unless they have a warrant, they can't search your property. And then if they can't search your property and they have no reason to hold you, you ask if you're being detained, and if you're not, or if they don't answer the question, you just press, am I being detained? Am I being detained? And if you're not, you're free to go. So you ask them, am I free to go? And you are. But they can't do this. They can't say, well, we can't search your backpack for the weed that we think is in there. So guess what? We're going to take it back to police headquarters until we get a warrant. We can't search your jacket for the knife we think is embedded in the sleeve. But guess what? We'll take the jacket back to our headquarters. It's the same thing. And it's also the same thing as saying, for instance, that if you decide to mail something to somebody that they want to read, that, oh, well, we can't read your mail. We can't open your mail and read your mail without your permission. But guess what? We're going to keep all of the mail back here until we get a warrant. Not only is that illegal, but it's dangerous as hell. Because if you have a government that can universally take your things until they find the necessity to actually do something with it that previously they would not have been able to do, then that is not only unconstitutional, but it's damn near Orwellian. And, I get that it doesn't look, when you look outside your window, like 1984. We don't have drones flying around. We don't have the government in secret TVs hidden in our room. I'm not going for the whole black helicopter thing. I'm going for clear, common, rational sense. And when we're talking about the government's ability to universally seize property, this data is the property, the intellectual property, by every law on intellectual property that exists, of the people who send it and the people who would receive the data. Because those recipients are the people who the data then rightfully belongs to after the transfer. It is property of either one U.S. citizen or another U.S. citizen, or one U.S. citizen and a foreign citizen. It is either or. But the government, it's not their property. And in order to abide by the U.S. Constitution and the Fourth Amendment, they have to find some reason to be able to search your property and to seize it. They can't take it and then search it later because they suddenly have it. It'd be the same thing as if they were allowed to hold your property until they finally got the warrant. That's not legal. That's not constitutional. You have rights. And the real problem here that I have with it is that everybody debating on the side of the NSA says, well, this protects us from terror. Well, isn't that great? Another constitutional right, well, not constitutional, We all have human rights, okay? And the Constitution protects some of them, you know? It asks the U.S. government to be there for some of them. Not to be against them because another government might have some people living there that disagree with our liberties or our freedoms or whatever. Which, by the way, 9/11 was the only markable terrorist attack done by foreign entities, and it's only happened once, so the probability of you being killed by a cop is much higher likelihood than you being killed by a terrorist. What we're running here is a debate on whether or not the U.S. government should be able to break the Constitution of the United States, the supposed supreme law of the land, because they decide that they need to make us safer. And guess what? Maybe it prevents a few terror attacks, but maybe if we were over there a little bit less, they would have a little bit less likelihood of wanting this in the first place, because 9/11 didn't happen until we had killed thousands of their civilians in the first place. It's an unpopular opinion, but that's the fact. The only thing that could prevent terrorism is us not being so involved in being an interventionist foreign body. All of these weird little conversations that people have about the NSA, all of these weird little debates about the topic of NSA seizing your property without a warrant, without your permission. Sure, maybe a few people are fine with it because it makes them feel safer, but guess what? The rest of us that aren't fine with it shouldn't have our constitutional rights, our constitutionally protected human, decent rights breached because this government wants to assuage the fears of a few people. Obama's approval rating should prove right now how the people feel about the NSA thing. Obama's approval rating should also show a clear reflection of the NSA's approval rating. The people, at least the people who are informed about the situation and know that their rights are being violated, do not approve. And that's the majority now. It's no longer a minority. And while it's a great time to be alive for a conspiracy theorist who thinks that, you know, the U.S. government is corrupt and out for, out for blood money, it still is terrifying to think that this government is willing to breach its own word to so-called protect this country. If this country is only worth its government, which international relations professors across the globe seem to think that a country is only worth its government, which is why, you know, when a Syrian government makes a missive or, you know, some sort of epithet, threat kind of thing, they say Syria's doing something. They say America's responding to Syria and Iran is going to attack Israel if... And that's another podcast, you know, but... People refer to the countries by what their governments choose to do, not what their citizens do, but what their governments choose to do. And that's because without the government, this would cease to be a legally recognized country, at least insofar as protectionism and hegemony go. So even if you break it down to an international relations professor's cold view of reality, some sort of Machiavellian realism, this isn't right. Because, if you, for instance, read Sun Tzu's The Art of War, you'll be able to know that in any successful military or geopolitical campaign, you need to have your troops understand that they're fighting for a thing. You need to have morale. And guess what? This country's morale sucks right now because people are suddenly realizing that no matter what they say, they will break their promises. Okay? Now, it's the awakening it really started when the Bush administration put through the Patriot Act, which violated our Constitution regularly. Okay? Then we get Obama, who's supposed to be the knight in shining fucking armor, who's supposed to tell us all, you know, how he's going to solve the problems that the world faces. And while that's appreciable, while that's noble and all that, for a constitutional law professor, he doesn't seem to get the latter part of the Fourth Amendment. He can't seize the property either. He can't search it. He can't seize it. He can't do anything with it without a warrant. Now, I understand how the NSA is going to respond to citizens talking like this. They're going to say that, you know, we've got a very strict FISA approval thing. You know, the courts are not broken. Blah, da, 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 da. This has prevented terrorism. But guess what? It hasn't. The only thing that things like this do is forestall the terrorism that's a direct result of our involvement in foreign relations. And if they really cared about stopping terrorism, the first step they would take, not the last step, not the dead last step, you know, after all of their other options are exhausted, that they would take is to end some of these conflicts that are messing up our foreign relations to the point where now people can rally around a religion and a flag to defend themselves from the United States government. And if they did that, it would reduce terror rates around the world. If we drilled here and drilled now, instead of protecting foreign oil fields for foreigners, not only would our economy improve, but there would be like an exponential drop in the amount of terror attacks around the globe. Because guess what? Terror attacks really did spike once we started to become involved in more foreign politics. So that's the blunt fact of this matter here. We're dealing with a government who patches up its mistakes across the globe by taxing the citizens so that they can watch them to see if they're one of the enemies that they've created overseas. And if they would stop causing these wounds, they would stop needing so many Band-Aids, like this so-called, you know, lawful NSA breach. What we're dealing with here is a government that does not care about its citizens, and hasn't for a while. And that's why they're willing to breach your human rights, the ones that they promised to keep by the Constitution. And the moment we start to realize that they're seizing our property, our data, our intellectual property, for their own gain, so that they can keep on maintaining a massive campaign around the world that creates these problems in the first place, is the moment that we'll start to realize that this problem isn't one that's up for debate, and that maybe Edward Snowden broke a few laws. But guess what? It was good. Jeremiah Harding, or Insanity is Free, out. I'm off to have lunch.